All right, team. Looks like we still got a good amount of you on there, hanging in there. We're in for our last presentation for today. We have Mr. Gary Denham. Gary is a 20-year veteran of the U.S. Navy SEAL teams. He retired in 2006. He's also the owner of Gary Denham Consulting and is a highly sought after professional public speaking coach. He's done a lot of work with different corporations, different professional organizations over the years. And today he will be presenting on building better teams through effective communication. Mr. Gary, number one, thank you for your service over the years, and definitely an honor and privilege to have you present to our organization, our association, society, and bring us home.
Got it. Thank you very much. First off, well, thanks to Nate Shaw for having the cojones to bring me on. I don't know if you, at the end of this thing, if you want to give him credit or blame for this next 50 some odd minutes, but I very honored. Thank you guys for being here, and who's ever staying on, thank you for hanging out this long. I know we've had 2 good long days, but I'll try to put the cherry on top here. It was actually kind of fun to listen to Eugene's presentation, and I'm not a athletic trainer. I'm not a strength conditioning coach by any stretch, but I worked a lot with folks that are in that realm, and yeah, I love it. And thanks. Overtraining to automaticity is good education. So my background actually is I was 20 years in the SEAL teams. I did 10 and a half years and I'm going to say this, and I'm a little bit hesitant to say it, but I'm still going to say it out loud because somebody else said it. When he was vice president, I was at SEAL Team 6 for 10 and a half years and performed on a team at a very high level, and was in an organization that was, I'm not saying it was cool to be in, but it was kind of fun to be in, and it made me a little old man because of it. But thank you very much. So I've got a couple, not rules, but as we go through this, I'm used to speaking in front of an audience. So this is tantamount to watching a fire on, watching a fireplace on TV. Yeah, hooray, is that you can see that's the fires, but you're not getting any of the heat and you're not feeling the ambiance. So, but if you guys can do me a favor, take notes, jot some things down. These are your takeaways. I hope you did the same thing with Eugene, whatever he was talking about, that you guys are taking notes. This is a learning environment, and I love the fact that you guys are inviting me to do this. And yes, I've been teaching public speaking. I actually teach the junior officers in our training pipeline. So you go through BUDS, Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL, and then you go to, or it's called SQT, SEAL Qualification Training. Everything's an acronym in the Navy. Sorry about that. But I teach the junior officers after they graduate SEAL training for the last 18 years. I'm the guy that teaches them leadership through public speaking. So, and I've worked a lot with pro sports teams, actually, a lot of Major League Baseball teams, and really love doing it, helping coaches get better at what they do. So like I said, the rules are just, how's this? Have fun. If you got questions, write them down, because this is a little bit different from a classroom setting where it's interactive, but take down some notes. If you got questions at the end, we'll go from there. So first off, I'm going to throw out a bunch of questions, and I'll leave you a blank space so that you can, some dead air so you can answer them. But first off, how did you learn to ride a bike? Or actually, how did you learn to throw a baseball? Or how did you learn to hit a baseball? You didn't look online. Someone coached you how to do it, and then you did it. It's the same thing with learning to ride a bike. Lance Armstrong could teach your son or daughter how to ride a bike, but when it got to the part where they have to learn balance, I don't care how good of a bike or a teacher you are, they have to do that on their own. And so we're going to talk about, so how are you guys going to get your teams better? And this is another not issue with this, but I'm talking to the strength conditioning coaches, and you you guys aren't the team per se. You guys aren't the guys wearing uniforms out on the ball field, but you're a team within a team. And that's just as vital to the guys playing. The guys on the field can't do their jobs unless you do your jobs. And so the first question I'd ask you guys is, what's in any elite endeavor, elite organizations, the ball clubs you guys are working for, and even within your division, I don't know if that's what you'd call it, a department or division within the organization, your team within the team. What's the number one attribute of any or all elite organizations? Now, if you can, honestly, take a second to think about it. What's the number one attribute to all elite organizations? And if you wrote something down, I can't have the conversation with you, but I'll give you the answer. And this is from not just Gary Denham thinking this through. I've taught the leadership courses at the Buds. I was the guy that taught SEALs how to be instructors I'm the guy that stood the program up, wrote the curriculum. I developed all the curriculum. I developed it. Gets 3 upper division college credits. And not that I'm proud of that piece of it, but I've worked a lot with elite organizations, of what people would deem elite organizations. And if we could backtrack a little bit, if we'd all agree that an elite organization is an organization or an endeavor that few people can do. And I think that's a decent one. That's a decent one. But the number one attribute that all elite organizations share is humility. It's humility. You have to have compassion. There's a bunch of other things, but it's humility. And humility states that you can always get better. Humility means that I can learn from anybody. When I retired from the Navy, I was an 8th grade U.S. history teacher. So I went from being a SEAL instructor, a BUDS instructor. I could say anything I wanted to a kid, pretty damn close. I wasn't a yeller. I didn't need to scream at anybody. I had this thing on my shirt that said UDT SEAL instructor on it. So I didn't need to yell at anybody. I could ask very nicely. But I went from that to teaching 8th grade history, and talk about a humbling experience that that there's a 13-year-old girl in the front row that is organically smarter than you. But if I couldn't learn from them, then I was the biggest dummy in the room. And the number one attribute is humility. And there's a story, he's the father of modern judo. His name's Igoro Kano. And this is the turn of the last century, not from 1900 to 20, but from 18 to 19. And he was on his deathbed. He's father of modern judo, and he's on his judo, and he's on his deathbed, and he's being surrounded by, or he is surrounded by his students. And his students are asking him, "Sensei, what do you want to be buried in?" And he said, "I want to be buried in my white belt." And his students kind of freaked out. And, "What do you mean, bury me in my white belt? Sir, or Sensei, you should be buried in all the accolades you've earned in this life, and you should carry them into the next life." And he said, "No, I want to be buried in my white belt, because when I first came into this world, I came in as a student. And now that I'm a teacher and a master, that's all well and good, but I want to enter the next world as a student again. So bury me in my white belt." And what I love about that is Igoro Kano had the strength to listen, the passion to improve, and the humility to learn. And I would hope that, and this is true of everybody I've ever been around, the arrogant bastards that I don't want to be around, that think that they know it all, they're the fun ones to watch fall and fail. And not that fun might be a strong word there, but I can learn from anybody, and I want to be around people that can learn from anybody. So I think that going into any endeavor with that white belt mentality wins. So, thank you again for being here. And for the folks that are sticking this out, I'll give you a smiley face on your paper at the end of the day.
Gary,
Yes, sir.
real quick.
Yes.
We have the ability to fire in answers to your question. So if you'd like for us to do that,
have at it.
If you want to read them off, or you'd like me to read them off.
Yeah, you can read them off, please, man. Have at it. This is so much more fun to me having okay. Let me ask you, Frank, would you rather be lectured to or have a conversation with?
conversation with.
There you go, brother. I don't like lecturing at anybody. I feel like I'm my dad, Bruce Denham. I'd rather have a conversation with. So that works great. Perfect.
All
Thank you.
right, very good. Team, as
Way
he asks us the questions, fire in your answers to the Q&A, or let's say in the Q&A box, and then I'll shoot them off to Gary. So go ahead and proceed, Gary.
Thank you. That's awesome. Works out nicely. So yeah, you guys are a team within a team, and what we're trying to do is you have to answer to not just the people that are working alongside you, and for the folks that are in charge of your division, you answer to the people that you work for and with, and you also have to answer to the head shed, the people that up in the front office, the players. So who are your clients? That's the question, is who are your clients? Or do you have internal clients and external clients? And along with that question, how do you guys gauge success? That's a nice question. How, in your division or department, and Frank, maybe you can help me with that, is it a division or a department? How do you all gauge success?
Well, we are a part of the team within the team. Okay, the sports medicine performance team. Any answers out there about what Gary is asking us? How do we gauge success on our performance?
I mean, is it wins and losses? Is it, do you guys, how well your players play, whether or not they win or lose?
Well, I'll start.
Have at it.
I think
Frank, you and I will have a conversation.
keeping our product on the field.
Nice.
Being working along with the other practitioners that we're with on, whether it be the athletic trainers or the physical therapists or the strength coaches, recovery specialists, the performance, the sports science. I think our job collectively is to help keep our product on the field and put them in a position to succeed on the field.
Awesome. Fantastic. So along with that and so Frank, again, because you're going to be my go-to person, do you guys have clearly defined goals, clearly defined mission, or mission goals and expectations? You guys, are those clearly defined?
Well, here's one that came across, Gary. How do we define our success is helping meet player goals, physical or baseball based. That is one of the answers we got from the team.
Perfect. So with that being said, we're doing communication, and we're talking about how to build better teams through communication, or effective communication. And it doesn't matter what organization you're looking at, whether or not it's a Boy Scout troop or a Major League Baseball or the SEAL teams. When there's whatever we deem as a failure, it always falls back to two things, or both, which is leadership or communication, or lack of both. And so what you're actually saying is that your clients are the people, and that's your mission and expectations, to have your players being healthy and performing at the highest level on the field and contributing to the success of the team. That I totally agree. Hooray. That's perfect. How do you get there though? And that's what we're going to talk about, is how do you get there? How do you build that team? How do you build that camaraderie? How do you build that rapport? Because what you're saying is that is communication. So what's your definition of leadership? I think just a good start launch point is, what would be your definition? If you can give me a sentence of, and I think everybody kind of should have, you guys are all going to be leaders if you're not already. What is your definition of a leader?
I'll wait a second, see if we have anything come through before.
Yeah, have at it.
All right, we got a taker here.
Let's do it.
To serve our peeps in a common direction to a goal.
Nice. Excellent. Don't disagree with that. I think that's great. I'll give you two that I've stole. As a teacher, I've stolen everything, and which is okay, because once you say it 3 times, apparently it becomes yours. It's sharing your vision and causing others to take that vision on as their own is the first one. And the second one is getting others to do what you want them to do because they want to do it. Those are easy definitions to me. And so now, what is a one-word definition of leadership?
Well, we have a couple of them coming across here.
Inspire. Yeah.
Accountable, humble, authentic,
Awesome.
inspire.
Good. Those are all great words, folks. Thank you. I'll give you the one word that defines all that, or wraps all that up. As a leader, the definition is, or leadership is influence. That's your job as a leader, is to influence others. And again, going back to how do you get them there? And that's the communication piece. How well do you articulate your thoughts, your vision, the team's thoughts and vision? What are their desires? How do you communicate that with your players? How do you get them to do what you want them to do because they want to do it? That is influence. And again, going back to whether or not that's in a SEAL team or playing Little League as a coach, or being the strength conditioning coach on whatever team you guys are working with, that is influence. How do you get that person to do what they're supposed to be doing? So yeah, this is excellent. And the two biggest issues that you see in all leadership, I'll go with it, biggest issues are problem solving and decision making. And again, going back, it always boils down to problem solving, decision making. This is kind of fun because I could actually have my notes. For some of the folks there's a couple people that are in the audience that I know. Nate Shaw is one of them. There's Paul Porter's on there, and guys that I've taught in the past. So Frank, when I do leadership or public speaking, I actually do 8 hours, no net. I don't have PowerPoint or anything, and I don't have notes. I just go off the cuff because I've been doing it long enough. And the conversation is driven by how well people are doing and what people are saying in the room. So it's kind of funny that I get to use notes all of a sudden. And because of this, so what would you guys think would be what's the number one consideration when it's not giving a presentation necessarily, it's having a conversation. What is the number one consideration when you're having a conversation with somebody?
Listening.
Nice. That's a good one. We're going to get to that. Yeah. Listening's up there. Trust me. That's going to be one of my main points here. So whoever said that, I'll give you you can have the chalk. Start talking.
Here's one: not pre-planning a response.
That has to do with listening, by the way. That's good. So the number one consideration, I'll give it to you so we can kind of move forward, is not kind of move forward. We'll move
being
forward.
active.
Being active is the same things. You guys are all hitting around it. The number one consideration when you're having a conversation or you're leading a class or teaching anybody is know your audience. You're not today so before I even went on today, I asked a lot of questions. I asked Nate, who am I talking to? Not just, I understand that you guys are the, strength conditioning coaches, but is it the head shed? Is it the people that are leading, or is the worker bees? Is the people that is part of the organization here? So I need to know my audience. I'd like to, actually, that's the one of the bad parts about not being able to see you all is I'd like to know who's married in the room, who has kids, who has families. I know you all have a family, but who has families of their own? Because I like to translate everything that we're going to talk about, everything we're talking about. I would rather have you guys go home. I would rather have you guys go home and talk and teach whatever we talk about today. I want you to go home and tell your family this. I'd rather have you go home and tell your spouse, your boyfriend, or your girlfriend what we're talking about and have them get better at it. Because if you can communicate better in your house and do better there, and I want to be the best husband I can be. I want to be the best Gary I can be. And if I can be a better communicator with my wife, that means I'm going to be a better SEAL. That means I'm going to be a better teacher. You guys will be better at what you do in your job. It's not a game. It's not a show. It's who you are. And so if you can get better at it in your house, that's why I'd like to be able, again, by a show of hands, how many people are married and do you have kids? It makes it easier on me since I can't ask that, but it's knowing your audience. So Frank, I get to pick on you. You don't have to answer, but Frank, you're always Frank. And Frank, so are you married?
Yes, sir.
Kids?
2,
Awesome. How old?
17 and 12.
Woohoo. Nice, daddy. So you're always Frank. You're always you. You're genuinely you. But how you talk to your wife is different than how do you talk to your kids, which is different than how do you talk to your organization, which is different than you talk to your mom and dad. You tailor the message to who you're talking to. It doesn't mean that you're lying to them or being disingenuous. You're being you. You just tailor the message to the person that needs to hear it. And so that is the number one consideration. And I love quotes. And Albert Einstein said, and if you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand it well enough. If you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand it well enough. So if you have a PhD in physics and you're talking to other PhDs using their vernacular, you're good to go. But if all of a sudden you're standing in front of a bunch of 8-year-olds and you're talking PhD language, it's water over the brim of the glass all over the table. They're not paying attention to you. The most important person is not you, it's the people in the audience. So you better be paying attention. You better ask questions of who they are, what they need. So with that being said, do you guys lead the folks that are leading this, that are leaders in their organization? Do you lead a department or do you lead individuals? Like in the SEAL team, do I lead a platoon? Am I leading a platoon of men or am I leading individuals?
Individuals.
Good. That is, yes. Ultimately, like whoever the manager of whatever team you're on, they're leading the team, but they're leading a group of individuals, and he needs to coalesce them together to have that common goal. You're leading individuals now. The guy, he's actually the head coach of IMG. His name's Dave Turgeon, IMG baseball. He used to work for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's about 8'3" and just a great human being. And we were working with the Pirates, and he said, he stood up in front of her. I'm not going to use exactly what he said because I'm not going to cuss here, but not that Dave cusses, but I'm not busting his chops. But Dave said, anybody in here think that you can lead Dave Turgeon without knowing who I am? You can't. You better get to know your players. You better get to know the individual that works with you and for you. So when they show up to work one day and they're having a bad day, you better know that, hey, you know what, maybe their mom's sick or their son's not doing well in school or whatever it is. You better get to know who these people are and what makes them tick. Otherwise, you're never going to lead them. Again, going back, that's what makes the SEAL teams a little bit different than everybody else's. It is shared heartache and shared misery, unfortunately. But that's what brings us together. And if you don't know who I am, then don't even think about trying to lead me. Otherwise, we actually call it, sorry about this, and I am going to cuss. We actually call it give a shit factor. That means you know who I am as a human being. And if you don't, then stop trying to lead me. So it's the same thing when you guys are communicating, because that's what we're talking about. And the communication we're talking about is being able, in fact, effective communication is being able to lead or to speak confidently and competently in front of large and small crowds. And that's what we're doing. So right now, Frank and I are having a conversation and Frank's daughter walks in the room or Frank's wife walks in the room. It's no longer, we're not having a conversation. Now it's public speaking, believe it or not. There's somebody else in the room. I'm not saying I have to entertain, but I have to entertain. I have to make eye contact. I have to talk to them and with them. And whether or not you're talking in front of a room or a team of 25 guys, or you're talking to the 3 guys, or talking to the whatever it is, 5,000 folks, maybe in a hall, in a convention hall, I'm only talking to one person at a time anyway. So with now, again, I get to kind of goofy to be able to lead, I segue my own segues, but and by the way, or being able to communicate tops, and I don't care what organization you're in or who has a leadership list, the top attributes of leadership. I don't care who it is and who's doing it, doesn't matter. All of them, communication skills are always in the top 5, if not the top 1. And I'm going to cut to the chase with this and not belabor this. Out of all the attributes that my wife and I, whatever we hold dear to our relationship, and by the way, I've been married 3 times and I married a divorce attorney for the 3rd time. So I am the talking chimp in the room and I'm good. So I'm that kind of an idiot, but I married a divorce attorney and we've been together 16 years and I'm not going anywhere. We have a great joke. It's cheaper to keep her. But out of all the things that I hold dear with my wife, I love her. I adore my wife. I value my friendship with her as much as I do my love for her. But out of all the other attributes, whether or not it's respect, honor, commitment, loyalty, whatever cool word you want to throw out there, the number 1 attribute we hold above all others is communication. Because how do I show my wife I love her? How do I show my wife that I'm angry at her effectively? I'm not talking about throwing a tantrum. How do I effectively tell my wife or show my wife or have the conversation with my wife that I'm not happy right now, or I'm not happy? And I'm talking about throwing a tantrum, but I'm talking about communication skills. Now think about the people that you get to work with, that you have the honor and privilege to lead and be around. They are your work family. And I'm not talking every family's dysfunctional to some degree, but how do you talk to these people? And you better hold communication skills above everything else, because if you don't, then all the other cool attributes that you think you want to have, you're at jeopardy to lose them. I like quotes, and I'm going to really ruin this one. It's with C.S. Lewis. He talks about putting first things first and second things second, because if you put second things first, you're at jeopardy to lose both. And I think that communication skills better be at the top of the list. That's how you're going to lead others. And so with that being said, now I won't say that again, but that means you better know yourself. So tonight, when you put your head on your pillow, are you living up to your own morals? Are you living up to your own standards? You're living up to your own virtues. I'm not saying you have to do an assessment every night, but you're the one, your head's on your pillow. And are you doing that? How well did you treat the people that get to work, that get to work for you, and you get to work for them and with them? So if I'm preachy, Frank doesn't have to bring me back next time. I'm good. But and it's the same thing in the SEAL teams. I love the guys I got to work alongside and got to fight alongside and get to train alongside. I love those guys. I wasn't doing it for anything, no high ideal, because I'm a patriot. I did it because the guy standing to my left and because the guy that was standing to my right. Those are the important people in the room, and I'm doing it for them. And I think that you guys are doing the same thing. It's called a Harris poll. You can look it up. They interviewed 616 managers about their communication struggles. And I'm actually going to hold this because I have really crappy eyesight. That's what happens when you get over 50. That's your birthday present to yourself, is really bad eyes. But 69% of the people of these leaders, these managers, they had problems in communication in general. 37% of them had issues with giving direct feedback. 20% of them had problems sharing their mistakes as a leader. They couldn't share their own mistakes. They couldn't fess up and be a little vulnerable and show them that, you know what, I did the same thing. That was the cool part about the Eugene. Whoever asked that great question about, you know, what did you do? Did you ever hurt a player? And he was very quick to tell you, yeah, I did it. In my youth or years ago, I actually hurt players. Man, that's humility. That's also being very comfortable in who he is, to be able to admit that. So you better be able to admit your mistakes, which is, I don't know if you guys know Jocko Willink. He wrote a book, I think it's called Extreme Ownership. That's part of it. 20% had issues with recognizing achievements. And by the way, that's the number one reason why anybody leaves a job. The number one reason why anybody leaves a job is because they're unappreciated, which means typically someone didn't say, hey, good job. That's it. Just tell them, hey, that was a nice job. You busted ass. Nice job. That's all it takes. Just acknowledge their hard work and effort. If it wasn't hard work and effort, then don't acknowledge it. But if they were busting their butts and you knew it, then acknowledge it. 20% had hard time doing that. 19% had a hard time giving clear-cut directions. And that's what we talked about. One of the first questions I asked was, you know, giving clear-cut expectations. 18% said that they had a hard time recognizing, and giving credit for other people's ideas. So if somebody came up with a genius idea, they had a hard time going, "Hey, good job, Frank. That was brilliant." They can't do that, which is going back to how do you treat others, and again, how do you communicate? And if you can't do this, what we're talking about, you guys can't do this in your home. Again, I suggest you try this in your home. Surprise your spouse tonight. Come home because you know what? I want to be better at this. I'm bad at it. I want to be better at it. You can ask don't ask my wife, but if you ask my wife, man, we work on it. I get pounded a lot. I'm a talking chimp, and I've made a lot of mistakes. Again, I'm on my third marriage, but I'm trying to learn. I want to be a better me. And so I want my wife to, if she's got an issue with me, here's a good lesson. My wife can't tell me what and how to do something. You're not allowed, she can't say, "Gary, I want you to do the dishes and here's how I want you to do it." So you can't tell your folks, "Hey, here's how I want you to rehab this guy and here's how you're going to do it." You're not allowed to. You're going to do one or the other. Tell me what you need done or how to do it, but not both. It's fair. So there's your little nugget for the day. But somebody pinged on it early. Well, I'm going to backtrack actually. So there's 3 key elements to effective communication. Going to get a little bit deeper now. There's 3 key elements to effective communication. The first one is energy. And if you like watching TED Talks, I suggest there's a couple TED Talks I want you to watch. And the first one, well, the other one, I alluded to it actually, being vulnerable. And her name's Brené Brown, and she talks about being vulnerable. Watch it. It's only 16-minute TED Talks. Brené Brown on being vulnerable. That's how you lead other people, by the way. You have to expose your heart a little. But the other one I want you guys to watch, if you have 16 minutes, go watch her. Her name is Amy Cuddy, Cuddy. And I'm not giving you the punchline. She talks about body language, but there's another piece in this. She talks about having presence in the room, like how you look and the feeling when you're in a room. That's why I said doing this Zoom call is like watching a fireplace on TV. Hooray, I can see it, but I can't feel I'm not getting the ambience. I'm not feeling the heat. And that's what the Amy Cuddy's talking about as having presence. She said that you have to be confident, comfortable, captivating, authentic, passionate, and enthusiastic. That boils down to 3 key elements. The first one is energy. That's who you are. If you're not enthusiastic to be doing your job, then find a new job. Go be someplace else, because just like everything else, enthusiasm is contagious, and so is being a stick in the mud. And they're gonna figure that out too. The second part of that is engagement. How do you engage with others? Which is kind of cool. Yes, Amy Cuddy, whoever just said that, Cuddy. Thank you. Whoever just popped that up in the chat. Perfect. So that's energy. The second one, the key element is engagement. How do you engage with other human beings? That's kind of what we're talking about. That's the thrust of the conversation that I get to have with you guys. How do you connect with other human beings? Are you genuinely interested in them? And so the first thing you can do to be a great communicator, my question, Hooray, is what do you think the first thing you need to do to be a great communicator? What's the number one thing you need to do? And you guys have already alluded to it. What's the number one thing?
Let them talk.
Woohoo, which is otherwise known as listening. Okay. To be a great communicator, here's a bullet point. For you to be a great communicator, you first must be a great listener. And so, do you listen with your ears and your eyes, your mouth shut? I know everybody knows the whole, you got 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth, so keep it shut. That's the truth. You listen with your eyes and your ears, and that's why when you were little kids, your mom said, "Look at me, young man, when I'm talking to you." But you listen. And so, all right, Frank, what is and you can ask your wife this, what's the opposite of listening?
Not listening.
Besides that, what's the opposite of listening?
Talking.
Good. No, you know what? Whoever said telling, you're pretty close. You know what? Here's the problem. The opposite of listening is waiting to talk. Now, how many? Yeah, it's reacting, but it's waiting to talk is the opposite of listening, unfortunately. So how many of you guys that are married, or how many folks are married in the room or have a significant other, and you've been together long enough that you think, like, I think I know what my wife's going to say, and I'm already interrupting my wife with an answer that she doesn't need to know because I'm waiting to talk. And so the key is let them talk, and that's what the opposite of listening is. And when you really care about somebody, you will listen. No one says it's easy. I have the answers too. I think I have the answers. So think about that when they're frank, when you're with your wife, and she'll get it wrong too. You know that? So because my wife interrupts me, now I'll give you the not my punchline, but man, out of all the things I'm going to talk about today, this is the first thing. If you can be better today at it, and you can be a better communicator with your team, be a better listener. So somebody said it early on when I asked who your client was and all that, and you guys said the ball players, but you need to listen to what their complaint is, what they're doing, what their needs are. So now I'll give you my end of it is I'm married. I love my wife, and she would be this. We lived in San Diego, so Eugene just moved to East Tennessee. I just moved to Middle Tennessee, and little town right in between Knoxville and Nashville. And but we were in San Diego, and my wife drove to and from, an hour to work and an hour and a half home from work, downtown San Diego. And she was she's a divorce attorney, family law attorney, and you're arguing with clients and you're arguing with other attorneys. And she had a long day, and she'd come home, and we're laying in bed and the TV's on, and we both got our phones out, and my wife wants to tell me something. I didn't have the common courtesy to put my phone down, stop watching TV, square my shoulders to my wife, and listen. The person that I love and adore more than any other human being that walks this planet, I couldn't do that to. I didn't have the common courtesy to do that. So if there's anything that you guys, and I can tell you honestly, I'm better at it. I'm not saying I haven't licked. I still say stupid things. I'm deaf from all the explosions and all the head injuries I've occurred and gunfire. So I say what a lot. But I square my shoulders to my wife, and I try to listen as best I can and have a conversation with my best friend. And if there's anything you guys can get better today, please let it be this one. You can practice this one, squaring your shoulders. So the engagement part of when you're with your team is listen and ask great questions. I think I've got that later on. I'm going to talk about asking great questions. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'll screw this. I'll get to it now. There's the one. All right, Frank, again, because you're the only one out. Can you pose it out there? But for everybody that's in the audience left, out of all the question words, who, what, why, when, where, how, and how much, I think I got them all in there. What's the one question word I do not want you to ask any other human being? Out of all the question words, what's the one question you do not ask other people?
Why?
Woo-hoo! Nicely done. Well, yeah, you guys are crushing this. And now my question to you is why? No, I'm not asking that. And the reason why is such a crappy question, because you're making me defend my position. You're making me, Frank, why did you do this? In fact, if you really want to get it, if you really want to boil it down, you really want to piss somebody off, ask them the negative part of that. Why didn't you do something? That is the worst question you can ever ask another human being. And so if I'm at SEAL training and kids are running up and down the beach, and I ask the students, hey, why did we run down the beach? You know what I'm getting? Everybody in the room shrugging their shoulders. I don't know, because it's right there. That's the easiest answer is I don't know, because it's a 5-year-old's question. But I can get the same information out of human beings by asking, hey, when do you run down the beach? I don't know, high tide, low tide? Where do you run down the beach? Well, soft sand, hard pack. How do you run down the beach? Well, if I run on the hard pack, I can run like I'm running on the street. And if I run soft sand, I'm going to run a little bit differently, like I'm running on eggshells. So you can get the same information out of human beings by asking anything but that stupid why question. If you're gonna want to ask a why question, ask yourself tonight when you're putting your head on your pillow, why did I do this and why didn't I do this? Those are the people you ask. Don't ask anybody you love or care about a why question. If you want to make somebody grumpy, in fact, in court, my wife's not allowed to ask why question because it's a leading open-ended question, but you can get all the same information. So in the engagement part of this, the key elements of effective comms, it's energy is the first one. Watch Amy Cuddy. Engagement, how well do you interact with your team? And it's the term of, I actually wrote this down. I agree with it, but it's called distribution of energy among members. So I'm not the only one barfing out information at a meeting. Everybody, this is the cool part about being in the SEAL teams, even the guy that's brand new has a voice. Everybody has a voice. We might tell you to shut up, but everybody has a voice in the team, because you know what? I can't think of everything. The team can't think of everything. And you might be, you know what? You might have college and you may not have college, just a past experience. You're the guy that's got the answer to the problem. So you better pipe up, and everybody, you create that atmosphere where you should be able to say anything. So it's called distribution of energy among members. I love it. And the last, so you got energy, engagement, and the last E to wrap up the E's here is exploration. And what I like about exploration is this: allow the team to talk, and allow the team to talk to other people about best practices. So not just, you got all the strength conditioning coaches. You know, it's cool. You brought Gary Denham in to talk about communication skills. I'm not saying I know enough about strength and conditioning, but I are a SEAL. I've fallen down a lot. By the VA standards, I'm 270% disabled. I don't even know what that looks like. I have a handicap placard at 58 years old. I look like a little old man, but I've rehabbed a lot. I've got enough injuries, surgeries. I should have a new hip. So there's too much info for you, Frank. But they didn't replace my hip. They did experimental surgery on my hip, and it didn't work. So hooray for the Navy. And there's a joke there. You know what you call the guy that graduated last in medical school?
Doctor.
No, we call it lieutenant. Well, that's a good joke. So exploration is you get to talk to others. You get fresh perspective, fresh and novel perspectives from other people. And it also promotes growth. When you get to talk outside of your little circle about what you get to do for a job, and you ask them a lot of really, really good questions, first you find out that other people have really, bright ideas, but that actually broadens your horizons when you bring it back into the conversation. So those are the three big key elements of effective communication, especially in a small, tight-knit group, because that's what you guys are trying to build. You guys are trying to build that, so through energy and engagement, exploration. And what you're trying to build is successful teams. Now, all successful teams is, ultimately, I'm talking about communication because that's the thrust of my conversation here. But we're trying to build successful teams. And all successful teams, I just alluded to it, everybody contributes. So if you want to write these down, to successful teams, everybody contributes. Everybody contributes to the discussion. Their opinions matter. And I put this as a note, even the new guys, the new me in the room. Like I said, when I was at SEAL Team 6, everybody that's there is a seasoned SEAL. To get to that command, you're not a brand new guy. You've not been in the SEAL team. You've been in the SEAL teams at least 2 deployments. So you get some pretty hard dudes there, and you have an opinion, and you might have learned something at SEAL Team 5 and you brought it over to the command and in your team. And if you better have a voice, and the cool part is you should have the confidence to be able to pipe it up and stand on what you say. So, but you guys create that environment so everybody gets to contribute. You get to face one another. So you get to, I'll give you that. I'm going to talk about that in a second though. You get to face one another. I just talked about squaring your shoulders up, and you get to face one another face to face, not I get to email people. Get your butt out of the seat, walk down the hallway, and talk to people face to face. You guys are a hands-on job anyways. You can't do, you're not doing physical therapy, you're not doing strength conditioning through the internet. You guys have to have, you have human contact with other people, which is awesome. You better do it. I think we're lacking, that's the other whole argument. So that's interact, and the other part is you interact with each other, not just the leader. You interact. So when you're not with the person that's leading this band, you guys interact with each other. It's not being a clique, by the way. You know, you carry on side conversations when the meeting's over. It's not that you're clicking out. It's not a clique. Those are negatives, but you're going to bring each other together. So you're going to interact with each other. And then I already used that one. You talk to others outside your circle. Now, that because I'm pushing up to my time, I'm looking at it. I got 4:42. I'm a little cognizant of what time it is. It's called 3 V's of communication. 3 V's as in Victor. 3 V's of communication. So you have verbal, vocal, and visual. Verbal are the words you choose. Vocal is how you say those words. And visual is the nonverbal communication. So you got words, how you say those words, and the nonverbal. And again, because I'm butting up the time, or I'll ask it, out of those 3, the words you choose, how the voice you put behind it, the emphasis you put on those words, and the nonverbal cues, which one holds the most weight in a conversation? And by the way, this isn't a Gary Denham. This is coming from a guy named Dr. Albert Moravian. He was a speech communications professor at UCLA. Visual, whoever said that, Justin Bucko to all panelists. Perfect. It is visual. Ready? I'll give you the percentages there. Thank you. Verbal, the words you choose in a conversation hold 7% of the weight in a conversation. The words matter. Words matter. 7%. If tonight, Frank, you went and got a haircut and left 7% of it not cut, or you only got 7% cut, you'd look like a geek. So 7% matters. It means something. And words do matter. The word run in the dictionary has about 250 meanings. I went on a run down the beach. I went on a run of poker. I have a run in my stockings and the water runs down. So I don't wear stockings, but either way, words matter. How you say those words, how the emphasis you put on each word is worth 38% in a conversation. And lastly, the nonverbal piece, 55% of a conversation is what you look like speaking. That's one of the issues I have with people wearing masks now. I'm not pontificating or making some political statement. Just as an educator, I have a master's in education, not that that means anything, but as a daddy, if you have kids and you're putting masks on little kids, they can't read your face. 55% of the conversation is what you look like talking. And now you're masking a kid up. They cannot read your face. They don't know what it looks like saying the words you're saying. So people are reading what you're saying way before the things that are coming out of your mouth. So when you're talking to your players, your clients, the internal and external clients you guys have, what you look like talking matters, which gets me into the last piece of this is what do you look like? I already said the first one, if you could get better today at anything, be a better listener, square your shoulders, keep your mouth shut and let somebody talk. The last one is eye contact. And this is everything. This is everything. So again, Frank, you just happen to be the only one I could see on the screen. How long you been married, Frank?
Oh boy. 23 years.
Nicely done. So when you met your wife, and by the way, women control that whole process, but when you met your wife, I'll put money that it was your eye contact was everything. You might have saw her across the room. I'm not saying you didn't like what she looked like physically. I'm saying that it was eye contact was everything. Any thoughts in communicating to a superior? Yeah, make eye contact. Just like anybody else, you make eye contact. You are respectful of their position. I'm not talking about disrespect. I'm saying you're respectful of the position, but you're maintaining eye contact. In this culture, you maintain eye contact. If in Japan, and some parts of the Far East, you avert your eyes with elderly people, with your superior. You avert your eyes. Not in the United States, not here. You maintain eye contact. We actually, so if I told Frank, if I said to Frank, hey, Frank, you're going to lie to the guy standing next, I don't know, no one's standing next to Frank. And I asked, so do you guys think if Frank is going to lie, tell a lie to the guy that's standing next to him, do you think Frank will make better or worse eye contact?
Worse.
Think it through. Here's the crazy part. Frank's going to make, now Frank, I'm leaning in, so obviously no one can see me doing this, but I'm going to make extra special eye contact with Frank because I really want you to buy what I'm selling. That's why, again, when you were little kids, your mom or Frank, when you're as a daddy, young man, look at me when I'm talking to you. Your eyes truly are the windows of your soul. I don't believe we have a bunch of expressions for people that can't maintain eye contact, lion eyes, shifty eyes. But either way, you're not buying a car from somebody that can't make eye contact. There's a book. It's oh, come on, is it Daniel Pink? And it's To Sell as Human. It might not be Daniel Pink. Don't quote me on that. But the name of the book is To Sell as Human. I'm 95% sure it's Daniel Pink. And Daniel Pink says you spend about 40% of your day, 35 to 40% of your day selling. I'm not selling you a car. I'm not selling you this coffee cup. I'm not selling you a pen. I'm selling you my thoughts and my ideas, my beliefs. I'm selling you right now. I want you guys to be better communicators in your teams, I'd rather have you be better communicators in your house and build that team and then bring that goodness and practice that and have your wife and spouses hold you accountable. And then you bring that goodness into the command or into the team. Ums and ahs, Frank, is that you're asking it? Whoever's asking
No,
ums and ahs.
That's Nate.
Awful, don't do it. It's a filler word. It's ready. It's an error. Ums and ahs are verbal errors. It's like looking at baseball scores, hits, runs, and errors. The team that makes the most errors is probably the team that didn't win. In football, right? A fumble, a penalty, offsides, whatever you want to call it, interception. Those are errors. Whoever has the most penalties probably didn't win the game. In communication, in public speaking, an error is ums, ahs, F and this. Any cuss word you want to throw in there multiple times, anything you do repetitively, that's an error. And at the end of the day, if Frank gives a presentation and he doesn't cuss, he has no ums and ahs, he has no filler words, he doesn't say like, so, well, all right. He doesn't use any kind of a qualifier. You know what I'm talking about? You guys tracking me? He has none of those. And I get up and I give the same presentation and I have all of those. You will walk away not thinking that Gary's bad, but you'll just like Frank better. You don't have to identify it. You'll just know what right looks right. You'll just know what quality looks like. So if Frank and his wife go into they're going to go buy new cutlery. They're going to go buy new knives and forks into the store, and his wife goes one way and Frank goes the other way. And they come back and they're like, hey, which one do you like? They might not like the exact same knives and forks, but I'll put money on it. They'll probably like the most expensive ones because we all understand, we all know what quality looks like. And those are verbal errors. And so I'll give you the answer. Whoever asked that question, how do you get rid of verbal errors in communicating? I'll give it to you. The answer is STS, stop, think, and speak. If you want to get rid of filler words, stop, think, and speak. And I'll give you the math of this. I'm at 450, but I'm going to go. Stop, think, and speak. We think at 1,000 words a minute. Think at 1,000 words a minute. I'm not going to be able to do this, but you can hear about 350 words a minute. If you ever watch the end of the commercial, the guy's talking about, here's the disclaimer at the end of the Viagra commercial. That's about 350 words a minute. You can hear what they're saying. Conversation speed is 150 words a minute. That's converse. So if you think at 1,000 words a minute and you speak at 150 words a minute, you got a lot of time to slow down. Stop, think, and speak. Now I'll give you the one more on this. My wife has a third thought rule for me. I'm not allowed to say the first two thoughts that go through my head because they're not for public consumption. Because what I think is funny is not everybody else does. So my wife has a Gary third thought rule, which coupled with the STS works genius. So if you can do those, make better eye contact, square your shoulders up, make eye contact when you're speaking and when you're listening, and be a better listener, and do the same thing. you'll automatically improve you're going to improve your communication skills in and outside your house, internal and external clients automatically. I don't want to work for a guy. I didn't want to have a leader that can't make eye contact with me. No one believes him. And so all this, what we're talking about how to build a better team, is same thing not just in the family, in your work family, is you're building rapport. And when you're building rapport, that's building trust. And when you build trust, that's building loyalty. Those two things, by the way, don't come automatically. Trust and loyalty don't come out of the block. You have to earn those. And how you earn it is building rapport. And again, I talked about it before. I don't like cussing about it, but it's called give a shit factor. When you know you care about people, and the people that work for you, they know that guy cares about me. You know what? And if Frank's my boss and Frank's doing it, he's built rapport. I know that he cares about me, and I trust him. You know what happens? You know what happens is, if Frank messes up, because Frank will mess up because he's a human being, you know what? At the end of the day, I will be quicker to forgive him, because I know that he's not going out of his way to hurt me. He's going out of his way to make me better at what I do. And that's building rapport. So that's the thing. And I know I'm running, I don't want to run long, but I'll give you, this is one thing that I love talking about is SEAL teams. You guys, we talked about outcomes. We talk about outcomes, and you guys, it matters whether or not your team wins or loses, because it matters. But there's not an organization on the planet that is more outcomes based than the SEAL teams. Because if my friends we don't accomplish our mission, my friends come home in a body bag. The stakes are just a little bit higher than a win or a loss. So my friends come home in a body bag, or the national mission doesn't get accomplished. So here's the thing, we are outcomes based, but we are process driven. We believe that the process to make a SEAL and to keep a SEAL in the game is better than anybody else. I'll give you my damn playbook. You can't do it the way we do it. So the same thing, how do you get your players on the field? You better fall back. I heard Eugene talking about it before. You turn your arm over this way and your rotator cuff. Well, you better improve your process to get your players healthy and playing on the field at the highest level. You worry about that. The wins and losses come. You can play the best damn game of your life and still lose. You can pitch. I mean, look at Nolan Ryan, who's one of my heroes in baseball. That dude was unbelievable, but playing on suck teams, and he could pitch a 1 or 2 hitter and still lose a game. He could pitch the best game of it. Well, maybe not the best game of his life, but he could pitch an amazing game better than anybody else and still lose the game. So don't focus on the outcomes. Although I'm outcomes based, I want to focus on the process. So with all that said, I didn't get to the part, my punchline at the very end, which I'm good with. But I'm going to reiterate here, if I'm going to leave you guys with anything, because I'm button up on my time for Q&A, is if you guys can do better at anything by the end of this conversation, if there's anything you guys walk away with, please God, let it be these 2 things. Be a better listener, ask great questions, minimize the word I in your conversations, and maximize your eye contact, because that shows that you really do care about the person that you're in front of. With all that being said, Frank, thank you I can't believe it. I can talk for 8 hours straight. Trust me. You can draw a picture on the wall and I can talk to a blank picture, a charcoal drawing on the wall. I could talk for 8 hours. So
I think we could listen to you for 8 hours straight.
Oh, no, my wife's going to come in here and body slam you for saying that. Oh,
wow.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, team, I know this has been interactive, which has been awesome. It's a little different than what we're used to, but different's good. Any questions for Gary?
Yes, yes, no, no, yes.
Can you see that?
Yes. I have a lot of young coaches on the call. Best advice to have positive impact. Is that what it is? Did I get that right? Positive impact on
Through communication.
What we just been talking about. Is it your impact on them? Okay, no, this is excellent. I'll give you the quickest version of this. In the SEAL teams, if you're in charge, you're the head guy. Like I'm a platoon chief. I I am mandated. It's part of, I'm chartered to do this, to raise the guys that are coming up after me to take my job. So now I'll ask Frank this, and I'll pose it this way. Frank, you're not in competition with your kids. You're not in competition with your kids. You want your kids to be better than you. I'm not saying have an easier life. You want them to have a better life. So the guys who's ever in charge, and you're getting new people that are coming in from college or wherever they're coming in your department, your job is to have them, teach them like you want them to take your job one day. No kidding. Tell them the trade secrets. They're not going to do it like you. They don't have the experience on the planet like you guys do. They don't have the experience. They're not competing with them, and you're not competing with them, with you. Don't compete with them. Care about them and have them take your job one day. They're not going to take it, guys. They're not going to steal your job. But if you're going about your business, that's what you want one day, for them to take your job, then you win. That's called mentoring, by the way. Oh, my word. Oh, the marble drill. Yeah, that's doing. You're telling me to watch the fire. So the question is, there's drills that you can get better at communicating and get better. We use a coffee can. I use a coffee can and coins. You're not stealing my thunder. But if somebody in the room, when you guys get together in a meeting, and someone bring in a soup can, empty soup can, and bring in pennies. And if somebody says the word like 1,000 times, just drop a can, drop the penny in, bank, and you'll make them hyper aware that they have filler words. That is the lowest hanging fruit. You'll make them hyper aware. We're not a 12-step AA program, but the first step in getting better is to realize or acknowledge you have a problem. So you'll help them realize that they have an and ah problem, or like and well, and so and here we go. Well, that was a great question, but yeah, that's about the easiest one I can get, or about the easiest thing I can tell you to try to make it better. Anybody else?
Can you speak to how communication relates to all the technology that is in sport and military? And is the art of communication getting worse due to the increase in technology?
Yes, and yes, it's getting worse. And it's making it easier. It doesn't make it better. Right now, do you think this is better? Okay, this is cool that I get to talk to you all. This is awesome. Now we can reach each other. This is really cool. I get to answer questions. But the truth of the matter is, okay, let me ask you this way. Would you rather text, if you've been away, you guys are on the road a lot. Would you rather, and you're on the road, would you rather text your significant other? Would you rather call them on their phone, or would you rather FaceTime with them?
FaceTime.
Always, because you get everything. You get James, you're now fired. I'll give your wife my card, or your wife my card, my wife's card. And if you're in Tennessee, we can work it. I'd rather be in the room with you. And so I'll give you a quick story. Last week, I was out in Las Vegas doing security. I wasn't wearing a security shirt. I was doing security for Amazon Prime AWS. It's their version of the iCloud, or the cloud. And they had their big national convention. It's the first convention in Vegas since COVID. There's about 30,000 people, and I got to walk around. I was sitting at a table at breakfast one day at the Venetian. Huge, massive. There's about 100 tables in there, 12 person per table. I was at the end of the breakfast, and nobody was in the room. And this guy came and sat down 2 people from me, 27 years old. His name's Sergey. I'm not busting his chops because you guys are going to know him. There's a room. You could have sat any table. He sat next to me. You know what he did? He busted his phone out. And I called him on. I'm like, dude, I'm a 58-year-old man. You're not going to sit 3 people away from me, 3 chairs away, and you're talking on your phone. I'm going to make you have a conversation with me. I'm going to make it. And I did. And it was cool. I got to know him. So I know his name. I got to talk to him about it. I'm not going to tell you about him, but I got to know him, and got to know a little bit about me. I think we're losing the human connection here. And you guys are in the people business. That's what your job is. You are making people better at what they do. Your job is to make people better. And the only way to do it is one on or face to face. I mean, is it effective the other way? To a point. But having your hands on somebody, getting to see in their eyes, getting to be in the room and feel their presence. Again, watch the Brene Brown and Amy Cuddy, and you're going to know what that means, and she'll define it better. So I think that's pretty good. I just want a minute over, Frank. I'm sorry.
I know we can't ask you back because of that. Brandon's chomping, he's ready to go.
Blame
Well,
Nate Shaw. Blame Nate Shaw.
we always do.
I don't blame you. I do.
No, we're not going to blame anybody, because I think what you just ended with is exactly where we started, where we're in the people business. And so that was incredible. And it was a credible way to tie it together, I think, for this group, especially, even though a lot of us might answer the question the same way that Cliffy did about text, FaceTime, or call. But it's definitely where we're at. And as we've had to do this, virtually again, I think it reminds us of how important human touch is. So thank you very much. This was outstanding.
Thank you. I'm honestly honored, privileged. You have no idea. This is humbling. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Outstanding. Happy holidays.
All right. You go. Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Merry Christmas to you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Frank, you have any
No, that's a wrap.
announcements you want to throw out? Okay.
No, that was the end of our 2021 PBSCCS Winter Meetings Educational Symposium. So we had great retention. There was a lot of people on the entire 2 days. That tells me the dedication and devotion to the organization. And Nate and the education committee, great job putting these presenters together. I thought it was a wide variety and all very applicable to, I definitely took a lot of notes and very applicable to what we do as strength coach, performance, health practitioners, what have you, in the people business. So no, that's it, BMAC. We're done. It's a wrap, and I'll hand the baton to you, pal, and take us home.
Thank you very much for that. And real quick, Matt, do you have anything else that you want to share?
No, I'm all good. It's all you. Thank you, everybody, and
Awesome.
I appreciate everything. And we'll see you soon.
Okay, awesome. Well, I think the first place to start is thanking Matt for the work that he did putting this together. The really cool thing for me personally was there was like vendors I'd never seen before, and I'm like texting Matt throughout, like, hey, hook me up with this guy. I think that this would be a good product for us, and I think we all know how we can get inundated with a ton of tech and a ton of vendors, but I felt like this was an unbelievable process, and to split it up over the 2 days. So if we were in person, I'd ask you to give a round of applause to Matt. Matt did an outstanding job of doing this, and we can't thank you enough for that. Frank, to MC this, the work behind the scenes that you did, putting this together was incredible, and we're indebted to you, and I hope that one day when I'm done being a strength coach, that I'll have the passion for this that you displayed. So thank you for that, to the board, obviously, to Cliffy, to Scotty, to Kiyoshi, for also just locking this in for the last year. Thank you very much. Expect some announcements coming pretty quickly before the end of the year. We'll be sending an email out next week. That's going to come for Kiyoshi, for anybody that you want to nominate, or if you want to nominate yourself to be a minor league rep for the PBSCCS. So that's going to be coming out. And so get to thinking about that. We'll be sending an email out as well, again, talking about those vendor shows in the spring. Can't thank our vendors enough, and we want to do our best to get in front of them in person and to make everybody on this, everybody in the society's job a little bit easier as we navigate spring training, I guess, especially with some COVID restrictions that we're probably going to have again. So expect those two announcements, and for everybody else, like, next year's an election year, so start to think about your passion for this group. I'm really excited for this next year, 2022, getting us back in person. Like Gary said, getting the human touch element, I think is as important for this group as it is for anybody else. So I expect to be back in person. We expect to be back in person. And if you're interested in running for one of the board positions next year, start to think about it now and plan it out how you could help. Because honestly, you'll if you think about it and put some effort into it, there's a good chance you're going to have a high impact on this group. And if you don't, but you have some ideas of how we can make this better, please, we are asking for feedback as much as possible. So please send that feedback over whenever you can. And other than that, can't thank everybody that's been on this Zoom, this virtual session for the last 2 days enough. The group's about the members, and this show is about the members, and it's about the education. And Nate did an unbelievable job of putting this together with the education committee, and I've heard nothing but great reviews so far on all of our speakers. So everybody have a happy holiday. Moving into the new year, hopefully spring training will be here before we know it, and we'll be talking to everybody shortly. Please let me know if you have any questions or anybody else from the board. Thank you. Stay safe.
Thanks, BMAC.